Yay! Welcome to Jerri's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I talk to everyday average people about their fantastic lives. Today I'm talking to the Bells, Colby and April. I know you guys through my husband. I think we'll talk about Texas and business owning. So how are you guys doing?
We are good. We're just having a nice day in the Texas heat.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I want to say that I love your fast podcasting voice stories. It's so different from the other Jerri when you talk fast, and I think that you might have a career as an auctioneer.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk very fast. I've had to slow down over the years. Whenever I was a caregiver, I learned to talk very slow.
Oh yeah.
Because none of them could hear me, but or understand me. So what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say that I think you guys were meant to live in Texas simply because you wake up so ungodly early that now you match like all of us in California because you're like 2 hours ahead.
That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. It's possible.
We're waking up at 5 a.m. California time, which is 7. So yeah, we're almost normal.
Based on Colby's Zen-like state, I feel like he was definitely meant for Texas somehow. Although he hates the heat and he doesn't do well in heat ever, which he didn't do well in Modesto either. We just don't leave the house. But he's almost like flatlined while he's been here.
If you can imagine that.
I know, it is weird.
Yeah, a super cool, chill Colby. I don't know if you'll believe it until you see it, but it's amazing.
We're gonna have to go down there and actually see it in person now. Although you did seem very chill in Vegas, I feel like. Yeah. But yeah, it's hilarious that I can text you in the mornings or that we can have a phone call on my way to work and it's perfect timing for you because you're like, oh, half my day's already started.
Yeah, exactly. I'm having lunch right now.
It doesn't make good for Pelotoning though, for catching up on Pelotoning.
Oh yeah, I know. We got our second bike. Chris has his. So, and then
where's it set up?
It's actually like to the right of me. Yeah, stage left, I guess. And so we have them in the garage next to each other, but we got it on Wednesday. We did our first try on Thursday morning and he cannot stand the seat. So he ordered like a big comfy one. So we're going to do a ride with the brand new seat probably tomorrow morning before I go to work.
Awesome.
We got to get him one of those biker shorts with a chamois.
I'm trying to imagine Chris putting on.
They're so comfortable.
I'm trying to imagine Chris putting on biker shorts in the morning, and it's really cracking me up.
I think that should be your next podcast.
That's it. Just filming Chris getting ready for a Peloton ride.
Yes.
What's funny is they just came out with a video game version. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's called Lane Break, and you ride, and it looks all like Tron, and you switch lanes using your resistance knob. And the faster you pedal, the more points you get, and you try to hit like music notes almost to the beat of the music you're listening to.
Really? That might be fun. I think I could try that.
Chris is really interested in trying that one. We just did like an intro
have
ride.
A group forum on the game, kind of?
I don't think so, because you have to go to Just Ride like you would do an outdoor ride.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I told him, I was like, I'm down to ride with you and do it that way and just see like who gets the most points, but we wouldn't be able to sync up. We'd have to have our headphones in.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully they'll evolve that. That would be cool.
Yeah, it's definitely in beta right now. It says it whenever you log in, like this is in beta testing. Don't sue us for anything, whatever, disclaimer.
That's funny.
But anyways,
tell the story of how we met.
Oh yeah, that's right. So we get off on tangents a lot. Oh, I get off on tangents a lot. So this how we've met. So I guess you guys can go first, but I met you both at different times, even though you were still together back then.
No, I love to hear your story because I'm the star of the show in your version.
Yeah, so I met Colby while I was incredibly pregnant. It was my last outing before I gave birth to Jared back in 2014. It was like in August of 2014, and Jared was born in August, and we were seeing a concert with Chris and a bunch of other people. I can't remember who all was there.
It was Athena, Rick's buddy Rick, and us.
It was one of your favorite.
Oh, that's right, like Irving or something. Yeah, it was like Irving. And that was a
great show. That was crazy.
It was super good. I still have the t-shirt. Jared wore it to bed the other day because it's like a medium because I was so thin back then.
Yeah, the boys, they have shirts and we have the CD burn, but yeah, that was a great show. It's too bad it broke up.
It is too bad. But yeah, that's how we met. So again, it was Chris's friend at a bar while I'm pregnant. It happens a lot. We did everything while I was pregnant though.
When did you guys meet? Do you remember?
Yeah,
it was like It was like it was that November, because I think we came like that October or November, right
I
before
remember. That was the big
Thanksgiving.
gap.
Because Jared was born, so then you guys wanted us to come and spend the weekend with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had never met April, but we walked in and you guys were like super hospitable, and April was like, "Oh, yay!" and like so excited that we all met, and then we were just like, "Oh, a baby!"
Yeah.
So then,
And April passed out with Jerri, and you passed out on the couch.
yeah, you were like, "Oh, I have this new Chardonnay. Try this," and me and Chris got really day drunk on Chardonnay.
That's
And
my
then,
favorite time to drink. Yep.
took-
And then I had a baby. It was so happy.
Yeah.
It was a happy weekend.
We took a nap on your super comfy sectional, and you took a nap on your recliner with the dogs and the baby.
With the baby. Oh my gosh, I don't know that I've ever been cozier.
I know. And it's Jared was such a sweet baby like that. Haley was never like that. You had to like really coax her into it.
She's a good sleeper. I slept with her too, and she was fun.
Oh yeah, there
I
was
just
that.
didn't have a recliner.
There was that
have a
one point that she
recliner.
slept for like 5 hours, and I was like, "Do you think
On
I
my
should feed her?
chest.
I don't know."
Yeah.
She's fine.
Don't
She's
disturb the baby.
But yeah, that's how that happened. It's kind of crazy. Me and Chris are going to celebrate our 5-year wedding anniversary this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Just
it's tripping.
by.
And then you were together for how long before you got married?
3 years.
Like 3? Yeah. So
Yeah,
8 years. Wow.
Yeah, we celebrated 8 years in February because we got together in February. Our wedding was in October. We were officially married by the state in September of 2021.
That's a funny story too.
Yeah. Yeah. Super fun time. We were married in Washoe County, Nevada. Because we did a Reno wedding in 21. So yeah. We have a lot of dates, but we just keep track of like our what's it called? Our wedding date. We don't even know like our true get together date. It was just in February at some point.
Yeah.
Colby knows ours.
I do.
Yeah.
He knows all the dates,
Yeah,
all of them.
I do. March 20th. And then October 20th for the proposal, which is interesting.
So you proposed in October and then got married in March?
First date was March 20th.
Oh, okay.
Proposed October 20th, married March 4th.
It was very
Damn.
fast.
So you were dating for like a year.
11 months.
Yeah.
Wow. We did a 10-month proposal, so that was like really short compared to all of our friends. We had a lot of friends that got proposed around the same time or before, and they didn't get married for another year or two.
Right.
But I was like ready by then because I had nagged him for so long.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, we knew we wanted an October wedding, and he was like, well, maybe like 2 Octobers from now. And I was like, no, I don't want to be engaged for that long. That's stupid. Just do it this October. It's fine. So
well, we were 30 plus years old, and like we'd seen it all, so like we knew.
My philosophy was I really had tried the whole square peg in a round hole often enough that it felt right. So
yeah,
it was a super, super short courtship.
Yeah. The short, well, I guess if you think about it, that isn't that short of dating compared to a lot of people, I feel like.
I mean, 6 months when you live right next to each other is not that long.
It felt like forever. I promise. It still feels like forever.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many people. I think my brother did that with his second wife, and they're still together happily. So yeah.
And in dog years, we've been married 112 years.
Colby swears. I love that Colby likes to say that he had a lot of deja vus from the minute we met. Everything just felt like a deja vu the whole time we were dating. So he just felt like by the time he proposed, he had felt like it was deja vu so many times that he felt like it was right.
That's so cute.
I'm not sure if it was actually deja vu or if she just had said it that many times. But, no, there was a lot of
We're going to try out our comedy skit while we're on your podcast. Right
yeah,
now.
that's it. You guys should start your own podcast.
Yeah, we're going to be like George Burns and Gracie Allen. You can Google them later.
I was imagining the 2 Muppets. The 2 old man Muppets. Not because you're both old men, but those 2, the way they go back and forth is funny. Anyways.
always sit in the balcony and heckle each other.
We have.
Yeah.
You guys moved to Texas. And I always find this so interesting because I had a person on here recently that moved to Tennessee from California, and he loves Tennessee. Why did you pick Texas?
there were a lot of factors in the initial search. One is it's a no income tax state. Two is that we felt like it was a better place to raise our kids, even though they're into their teens now. And then we had family here that was kind of directionally saying like, hey, you know, just come check it out, come check it out, come check it out. And so it just had been attractive to me, even when I opened the gym.
I was going to say,
was on my list of where I'd moved the headquarters to way before we talked about moving personally.
I do feel like it was 5 years prior that he kept saying it was in the 5-year plan. Like when we opened the gym, originally our goal was to open the gym and franchise it. And then we would leave the gym to somebody in California and we would move to Texas. And that's where he wanted to have the second gym open a long time ago. And he's been ready to move to Texas since forever. Another reason why I felt like towards the end, he also said that it's more small business friendly here. It's just a little easier to be to have a small business and be supported by the state and the people who live here. So they make the process a lot easier, which is something that Colby really wanted to continue to pursue, was his small business with the Powbells thing. And then I don't know why specifically he wanted Texas, but it's always been on his radar. And I just followed. I was just like, okay, I'm hitched to you. So here we go.
Anywhere you go.
And the man that was my foster parent, so to speak, like when my dad kind of went off the rails, Earl was from Dallas, Texas. And so he was always one of those giving people that grew up dirt poor, but he would give his shirt off his back to anybody. And I was like, you know, that's the kind of place that I want to be.
Yeah, that's cool. I hear a lot of people like it.
I moved here sight unseen. I had never even visited Texas. I'd only seen it in the movies.
I have landed in an airport in Texas and then left.
Right.
Never stepped on Texas soil.
Right, exactly. We're in international territory.
Yeah. Growing up on airplanes visiting my mom, I always stopped ever since 9/11. Hang on, there's a spot on my screen that's bugging me. Okay, sorry. We're totally unprofessional around here. Growing up on airplanes, once 9/11 happened, you couldn't get straight across the country without stopping. So I had to fly from Washington to Pennsylvania, and I would always stop in Texas because it's like the perfect midpoint plane wise. It's like a 2.5 to 3 hour flight from like there to Pittsburgh and then there to Washington State.
Yep.
So yeah, I've been in Dallas Fort Worth, Texas airport probably like 50 times in my life.
Yeah, it's a big airport too.
Where what is like a big city that you live by? I don't want like any creepers to know your address, but what's like a big city you're by?
No, we're I mean, Dallas is close to us. We're literally 35 minutes from the airport. So
okay, cool.
We're a little bit north of that. McKinney is the city we live in now. It's about the size of Salinas or Modesto.
Oh, cool.
We're not afraid of you creepers.
Yeah, bring it.
My sister moved to Texas. My sister moved to Texas out of the blue. She's the one that went to Vegas with us, the young one.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
The not nice one. the nice, the less
I
nice.
never said that.
No, I did. It's okay. She knows. Yeah, literally whenever we were in Vegas, she was like, she didn't want to live with my dad in Delaware. She had tried living in Oklahoma. She picked stuff randomly. She's 21. Her brain hasn't developed yet. So she picked Oklahoma randomly. It didn't work out. She moved back and she was looking for another place. So while we were in Vegas, she was like, I want to move here. It's so cool, right? Of course, it's like every 21-year-old's dream. And then whenever it was like 2 days after they got back, she posted on Instagram that she was in an empty apartment in Texas. And I was like, what is happening?
So is she still here?
Yeah, she has I wish I knew where it was, but I don't remember the city that she said she lived in.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it's
so she's working here, obviously.
I don't know. I don't know what she does for money. I don't want to ask, to be honest with you. Seen some of her.
Don't tell. It is a good philosophy. The don't ask, don't tell rule really does seem to work in a lot of different areas of your life.
Yeah, I heard her say certain things while we were in Vegas, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I guess that's choice. That's a choice you made. Okay, you're an adult.
Not my choice, but a choice."
Yeah. So, but I know usually she just gets a job as like a bartender or a waitress somewhere.
Perfect. It's a good place to put those.
There's
Her personality and her looks get her a lot of tips.
It's
so.
a good way. I was gonna say it's a good place to put her good looks to use.
And let me tell you, Texans like to eat out. They could build a restaurant on every corner and not have enough.
They have built a restaurant on every corner, and it's still not enough.
It doesn't matter where
It is
you go,
true.
they're eating something. It's the most phenomenal thing I've ever.
It is amazing.
They don't know how to drive, and they eat all the time.
I'm not surprised. Like, people are not as big as houses here. Like, realistically, in my opinion, I see more large people, overweight large in California than we do here. And there's no like salad bar restaurants here. It's steak. It is don't mess around food. And I don't know how they don't.
I think it's the humidity and the heat, dude, because that's how it was I got fat in California. I was thin whenever I got here.
Well, then I'm excited about the summer, let me tell you. Bring it.
She's gonna be outside with a tarp.
Yeah, I would put one of those like reflective suits on.
Because it is like with humidity, once you walk out, it's like a hot, wet monkey on your back, and you're like walking around all day.
Yeah.
So
this morning it was like 75, and it felt cool.
Yesterday when we were there's a different kind of heat, I guess, and it must be the humidity. But yesterday we were out in the heat, and I have never felt so like, I literally felt lethargic. I thought I was going to fall asleep. We were in the shade.
And we were about ready to take a nap.
I needed the nap. I couldn't even talk anymore because I was just like this. Like I was comatose.
Yeah, we left early. We're like, this is cool, but we're out.
But in California, the sun energizes me. I'm like, let's go, woohoo, let's go here, let's go there. And I just wanted to take a nap yesterday.
Yeah, it was fair day yesterday for Salinas Valley Fair for the first time in a couple of years. And so it's in King City, like 5 minutes from us, 10 maybe. And so we went, and it was like 92, but it's dry heat. So if you just like are still or in like under a tree, you're cool, especially with the wind from the valley.
Yeah, you get a little bit of wind off the ocean breeze. So,
but yeah, I remember growing up in Pittsburgh and like going out on the boat, and it's like if you're not in the water, you're just sweating. You can just be sitting there in a bathing suit on a boat sweating because it's like 90 degrees with like 80% humidity. It's just like a sauna everywhere you go. But yeah, and like I remember my stepmom's glasses would fog up whenever we would leave the house. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah. No.
Not yet, but it's coming.
Everyone talks about the weather.
It's not as bad as Houston. Houston is really humid.
Oh, people
East Coast humid.
Okay.
Dallas and this area is humid, but not that sweaty humid. So it's going to be balmy, but not like that coastal humidity that you get in the Northeast and the East.
Even people who live here say, I don't know how people can live in Houston.
That's funny.
It is funny, but the weather is a big thing. Like, a lot of people talk about the weather here, like that everyone watches the weather, like keeps tabs on the weather. Because it's very exciting, the weather here. So that's kind of fun. Yeah.
I was always surprised my dad never moved to Texas, and I just talked to him about this because he's like everything you guys are explaining, and he's from South Carolina, so it's like that same vibe down there, I think. And he just said that he never liked Texas because he really likes being close to the ocean. Like, he wants to be within an hour of an ocean. And I guess in Texas, I'm assuming you'd have lakes at least, right? But no, like,
we do have a lot of lakes.
Yeah.
There's 14 lakes within like 10 minutes of us.
But way down south of Texas, there's the ocean.
Oh, I'm horrible with geography. But yeah, so that's why he lives in Delaware now. But he was saying that even if they would sell and relocate, they would probably just work their way south to like Georgia or South Carolina or something. He likes
the East Coast is, if you're used to the East Coast, it's there's a certain vibe about it. There's a different energy. Like, Texas is a little bit more laid back than the East Coast.
Yeah.
The East Coast is like 100 miles an hour with your hair on fire, and Texas is more like 15 miles per hour with your hazards on.
Yeah.
Colby, there was several. Colby was, I think Florida was on the list. Arkansas and Tennessee were all on the list. But I was, as a Californian, too afraid to move much more east of Texas because I just never have lived anywhere else. And so,
Well, and Tennessee is beautiful, but you can literally go from nice suburban neighborhood to trailer park, meth cookout, and they interspace. Texas is pretty well planned out. Like, they're building out the infrastructure. Like, where we're building our house, they're building a 4-lane highway out by the time our house is built, we're gonna have full access all the way to Dallas through the freeway system with only 3 miles of country road.
Oh, wow.
So,
It's very
and it's
impressive.
nice.
Yeah,
Like,
it's there's a lot of things that are really impressive, and it's big and sprawling, and I'm sure because it's new, but and you know, the people who've lived here forever aren't excited that the what once was country is now
Yeah.
suburbs, or big city. But I really like it. I do have to say, I really like it. I feel like in 8 months we've met a lot of people. We're busier than like people who've lived here their whole lives. And when I go to work and tell people like all the things that we did on the weekend, they're like, I've lived here 30 years and I've never been there. And where's that? And we've just explored. We've met lots of people. Like, we're busy. Like, I've had bowling and bingo and church, and Colby's got friends and outings, and we're busy.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I find that I'm the same way at work, and it's like these people that have lived in Salinas or been born and raised in Salinas their whole lives, and they don't know all the things, or they're amazed that me and Chris do so much. And I feel like you guys do even more than we do. But we're like, oh yeah, we're going to the fair, and Chris has a gig, and his beer business is doing a thing, and they're like, wow, you guys do a lot of stuff. We just like sit at home all day. And I'm like, it's California. What are you doing, boo? Like, go outside.
Yeah, don't take it for granted.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah. But I have like 9,000 questions. So and I do want to talk about your business. What time do you guys have to leave?
Oh, we've got at least an hour.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure I prioritize.
Out cleaning pasture, so he's got the first one takes him an hour, second one takes him another hour at least. So we got time.
But you mentioned building a house, and I have like 1,000 questions about that because I've always wanted to build my own house. I think that is so cool. Okay, so can I ask a general like amount of money you have to pay to do that in Texas?
It is close to. So it depends. For us, we're building a custom house, so that means that the contractor is going to custom build, like they call it a semi-custom, but basically we get to choose our floor plan, specifically design it. It's not like the cookie cutter track housing. You can build a track house here for probably 300 to 400,000 if you're out of the city. Yeah, ours is closer to $500,000.
Okay,
that's not including the land. So we had to buy the land separate from that. So it's gotten much more expensive.
It's gotten pretty expensive.
Almost double what it was 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So then whenever you say track housing, do you mean like you lived in one of those housing developments in Modesto? Would that be cheaper? Because all of those have like the same five kind of layouts. Yeah. Okay.
Because you don't get to choose anything except for those 4 floor plans.
And then like the fixtures or something.
The fixtures, but those are like from a list too, right? You get bronze, brass, or black, and that's it. Whereas we can literally choose the type of fixture. We can choose from a lighting company that has 500,000 designs and a tile company that has all this. So it's a little bit more versatile.
But what I do, there's the do's and don'ts that I do and don't like. Like if I were to buy in a subdivision here, I think it is a little bit pricey. Like if I compare it to California, they're not California prices, but they're getting close. But what they do offer in their subdivisions is amazing. First of all, it's brand new, but they offer like built-in lakes. If we had kids, it would be amazing because it's the community aspect of it is super big. They've got dozens of rec centers, the pools, they've got big like splash pads and the wave things. It's like going to an amusement park but living there. It's like amazing.
And that's for like $29 a month HOA fee. It's not like a huge
amount. That's really cool. And they get more
they
land, right?
HOAs too.
What's that?
Do those subdivisions get more land or no?
Not always. Sometimes they're on really small postage stamps, and sometimes they're on bigger lots, and it depends what you're looking for. Yeah, they have every kind of subdivision that you could possibly want. But they're really they're fun. If we had young kids, I would be all over it.
Yeah,
over it.
But I really wanted to build in the country, and so we're building almost 2 acres, kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I saw your pictures on Facebook. Yeah.
Like there's cardinals on the property. They just have this unique song. They're beautiful, bright red, just
it's very quiet.
It's just so peaceful.
You can just hear the peace. Yeah. The quietness is deafening. It's nice.
That was what that was one culture shock for me moving from where I grew up to here. And it's not the whole East Coast that's like this, but I grew up in a rural town of like, I think there's like 1,500 people that live there. where the houses are like really pretty good spread apart. It's quite a walk to each house, maybe not miles, but you know, you could fit like 3 California homes between each house where I grew up.
Sure.
But we all knew each other, and all the kids grew up together and went to high school together. And here you can like high five your neighbor out the window, but like nobody talks to each other. I don't know my neighbor's name. Like,
yeah, we were blessed in California that we knew our neighbors, but I think COVID helped with that.
Yeah.
You know, because we kind of knew a couple of our neighbors, and then like one day I just pulled the music gear out and we started playing, and it turned into a weekly thing that turned into, even after COVID, we kept doing it and gathering as a neighborhood. And,
yeah.
You know, but
Chris always liked your little cul-de-sac spot that you had. He thought that was so cool.
Oh, it was so fun. I mean, we loved that house and that neighborhood, and you know, we already have that where we're building. Like, we know all of our neighbors already. People have stopped by.
Oh yeah,
we know everybody within like a half mile, and we haven't even broke ground.
Yeah, I had to explain. It's really cute. So where we purchased, there were 4 lots, and they're each about 2 acres. And so everyone has their 4 lots. So we've already met all the 4 people, the 3 other people who purchased their properties, and we're all. It's really cute. So the guy that one of the guys that we met, that's going to be our neighbor, he designed a small private Facebook page just for the 4 of us, for the 4 properties. It's so cute. And then whenever we're out there, when people drive by, they'll stop and say hi and talk about their house and where they live down the road. It's so fun.
I'm the blue 2-story down the corner on the right next to the quail.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
It's really cute.
Yeah. But
I
they're
love that.
really kind. Like they're super welcoming. In Texas in general, people here are just friendly.
I want to tell the story real quick about Hudson. So, you know, Hudson moved here, and he came, and he came because he said he felt like he needed a fresh start, and he'd burned some bridges, and he just really wanted to reinvent himself. So when he came a couple months ago, he came and said, you know what, I moved here, and I heard what you said about it being different and that the culture being different. He said, and I just kind of blew it off, but he's like, I love it here. I have more friends here. He has more friends here than he did in California. He's seen more of the countryside of Texas than he has in California. And the people the strangers off the street that have helped him out in huge ways because of his car, he was just touched me. Like, he was near tears. He's like, this guy helped me. Oh my God.
Yeah, we had 2 specific instances where during the ice apocalypse, everything is iced in, and his car had no traction whatsoever.
Bald tires.
He calls us in a panic that we was literally going to the gym, which is like 500 yards from our house, and he gets stuck in the middle of a 4-lane road.
Oh no.
So we're running down the street on the slippery ice trying to get to him to help him push his car. By the time we get there, a guy's already strapped on and hooked him and is pulling him into a parking lot. And then his second thing is like he broke his wheel, like not his tire, his wheel broke because he bought a total piece of crap car.
He's like 18. That's what
not
they
the
do.
moral of the story. Exactly.
But the point is that this guy, he takes it to this like Meineke or whatever, just like this little podunk repair shop, and the kid that was helping him was like, oh, you know what, I've got a G35. I'll tell you what, I'll bring my tire from home from my car, and you can use it until your tires arrive in like 14 days.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks.
No charge. 2 weeks. Just brought.
He didn't even know the guy's name. It was over the phone.
It's so cool.
It was
people
amazing.
just really do help each other here, and it's just so profoundly different than what we experienced in California. You know, it's definitely a different culture.
Yeah, I think it's the small town vibe. I think that's why a lot of small town people don't make it in the big city. Like I literally don't know anybody else in my life growing up that moved so drastically to California. A lot of them did move to like Texas or Tennessee or like down south, but they still kept like the same vibe. And even whenever I first moved here, my mom had a boyfriend from Pittsburgh, and he was like, California's weird, man, I'm going back. And he went back to.
You feel like California is where you were supposed to be. Like, have I heard you say that like you felt more at home in California than you did in Pittsburgh? Like,
yeah, I don't even think Pittsburgh's my home anymore at all. I'm just waiting to watch a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert so I can get my official California card. But
then I'm not from California either. I'm not sure. I always say I don't like them, but I do. But I can say that I did see the Foo Fighters. So
oh my gosh, I am so salty. The Foo Fighters were supposed to headline Sunday night at Aftershock. Oh wait, I think I froze, or you froze. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I missed the last
Okay.
part that you said. What was the last part after the Chili Peppers? Or the Foo Fighters?
Just that we were talking about the Foo Fighters that we had. We got to see them, but we're talking about they're from Virginia or something like that instead of California. But you were saying about Aftershock?
Oh yeah, so I didn't know the Foo Fighters were from Virginia. That's so interesting. But yeah. Huh?
We're losing our internet, I think.
That's the one thing about Texas.
They do not have good internet here.
Oh, I think we caught up now. Okay, cool.
There we go.
And you're in a car, you're like the guy on the Johnny Depp trial right now. What was his name? Alejandro or something like that.
Yeah.
If only you guys were vaping, it would just feel so realistic.
That's so funny.
But yeah, we were supposed to see the Foo Fighters at Aftershock, and then the drummer passed away, RIP. And so that was mine and Chris's one and only chance to see them, and it's gone. It'll never be back. Neither one of us had ever seen them, but they're rumoring that the Red Hot Chili Peppers are taking over their tour, or I think they already have started taking over their tour. So people are hoping that they come to Aftershock as like a good that feels like a good fill-in.
That would be a good replacement. Yeah, same kind of vibe, high energy.
Yeah, a lot of hits, because that's all the Foo Fighters have, is just hours of hits. So yeah, that's like a running joke, is like every Californian's first concert is the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That's so funny. I think I predated the Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
and the Chili Peppers.
Chris's first concert was Pearl Jam, I think.
Oh wow.
I think that's what I'll have to confirm, but I'm pretty sure in high school.
My first rock concert was the Scorpions.
Oh my goodness.
With Mr. Big, I think.
See, Mr. Big was big back in the day.
Yeah, mine was in 80. No, it was in 90.
Mine was Iron Maiden, Anthrax, and Testament.
In what year?
91, and then
mine was
AC/DC
90.
right after that. So
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chris said he was in high school and Cameron's parents would let him go, and then I think Chris and Albert convinced their parents into letting them go, and I think he said they were maybe like 14, and they went. Oh, wow. And his mom took a big leap of faith of letting him go with like another adult, sight unseen, and let him go to a concert. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. I grew up going to country concerts because that's what my parents listened to. So my first concert was a Kenny Chesney concert, and I think I was like 8 years old, or I might have been 10. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting as other people's, because I'm not the biggest country fan anymore. I exclusively only listen to country that I grew up listening to. So that's like 90s, early 2000s, which is not a popular.
That was the stuff that I listened to, because I think Alan Jackson and that genre.
Yeah.
Maybe Rascal Flatts or something like that.
Yeah, like we saw Rascal Flatts in concert. We saw Tim McGraw. We saw Kenny Chesney a few times. Jason Aldean, I think. Yeah, there was a lot of them like that. But anyways, you guys have your own business, and I keep wanting to talk about it, and we keep getting distracted. So you mentioned it before that you opened a gym, but you no longer own the gym. Is that right? Or do you?
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
No, we sold it. So we opened the gym. We're doing very, very well. And then COVID in California hit. Yeah. And with all the regulations, we were losing a lot of money. And so we pulled out of the nosedive, and we started making a go of it. And then I just lost the passion for it. Like I loved a lot of the members, and some of the members and I we didn't vibe, and so it just felt like a kind of a microcosm of the political landscape right now. And I was like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I just wanted to make people's lives better, make working out fun, and it was not fun for me anymore. And so I knew it was time. And I think it happened within like 3 weeks. We had a small COVID outbreak. We had like this peasant uprising at the gym, and I just came home to April one day and I said, I'm done. I want to go. And it was not like kind of like go. It was like, we're selling everything and we're getting out of here. And through COVID, we had opened up Better You Foods, which was our spices. I was like, well, the gym's closed, but the stores are open, so maybe I can sell these. And these pop-up events are popular, and my spice ropes are pretty good. And so that was thriving in spite of everything. And we decided to rebrand that company to Pa Bell's Rub and Sauce Company. So we literally just launched that yesterday here in Texas.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so we did it in the new town that we're going to be home to, which is Van Alstyne. And, you know, it's this little tiny town of maybe 5,000 people, but they had this car auction and show, and they had Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds. They had like the fast vehicle from Fast and Furious, and like this little tiny town in the middle of nowhere, and they had this really neat festival with great people. And
Well,
That's
I wanted
cool.
to elaborate on his business a little bit and just say too that, you know, he had talked about and had been experimenting with food since we met. So he's been growing as a foodie and as a cook, and we've talked about opening a restaurant or a food truck or him going to culinary school. But like food has really been a huge passion for him the whole time we've been together. And he had always experimented with these spices and sauces, but he never wrote anything down, and so he could never make it the same way twice. And I was nagging at him, so he did started to write stuff down, and there was some experimenting going on for just, you know, playing around. And then when he opened the gym, then it was, I feel like it was even before you, it was before he opened the gym, when we were at another gym. There was a lot of we were friends with a lot of people who were doing those bikini competitions and board short competitions. So they were in this beauty pageantry type circuit, and they couldn't eat things that had sodium in it. They were on a really, really strict diet. Like we're talking tilapia at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they were always just looking for something to choke down this nasty food that they had to eat. And they were using Mrs. Dash. And so Colby was really inspired about wanting to make food enjoyable for them on such a restricted diet. So that started the low sodium.
So I remember one time that we came to visit you guys, you had pulled out a 5-gallon bucket and a face mask. This is way pre-COVID, by the way. Masks are not required. And you
so dusty.
You had like a Tupperware thing that was your measurement for like everything, and you just mixed it all in this 5-gallon bucket, and then you were like, here, you guys can take this home. So we literally had like a Tupperware container with like a sticker that said like low sodium or like metabolic, pro-metabolic spices or something that you had on there. It was so cute.
Yeah, it was fun.
And like
we did started in the kitchen in one of those it was the orange Home Depot bucket. It was clean. And the
spices were so
strong.
They would poke you out. So I had the N95 pre-COVID. I had the N95 for that.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then we were just gonna do it in the kitchen, but then we wanted to, Mr. No Stopping over here didn't want to just give it to his friends at the gym. Then he wanted to be in like markets or something like that for commercial. And in order to do that, we had to have it professionally bottled. So then that's why we went that route. And then
I remember us having the one that didn't have the good anti-caking agent in it. So you really had to get it like shaken up good. And I don't know, did you put the stickers on yourself for a while that actually said rough rub? But they looked pretty plain compared to what you have now. Not bad, but they're very minimalist.
In 3 years is insane. It went from the muscles around the Better You to the green and red labels that were the Mom Pa Bells to the Pa Bells labels, which are super colorful and branded. And
that part's fun. I love the designing and marketing aspect and watching that evolve. That's been a lot of fun. But we worked with this really cool, that crowd. What was that called?
Oh, Design Crowd was how we initially designed all our stuff.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then because we started actually making money at it, we could actually hire people. So then my buddy's media company helped us with the last go around, and they're really good at branding things. So they've really done a good job giving us like a feel for who we are.
And then the amount of research that he had to do to comply with California, standards and laws and the labeling and like the things that he had to research, like the labeling size and the barcodes and all these really weird things that I had no idea about. And like you had to
Chris. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Chris had to deal with all of that because Chris is kind of like the graphic designer. They'll outsource and pay a friend to do the artwork, but then they just send over a digital file and Chris designs the rest of the actual can. And he had to look up all of that stuff. And it's so repetitive too, the kind of shit that you have to put on there. And he's like, dude, it says it right here. Like, why do I have to have it here too? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Like, even though I say in the ingredients that it's got like, I can't remember what it was. Like, you can't, if this facility that you're producing it in has anything at all that has gluten in it, even though your product doesn't have gluten in it, you can't call it gluten free.
Oh my
like,
God.
I know
It's
in
a
the alcohol,
fucking
you have to put,
spice.
like,
What do you
I
mean?
know. It's like, what am I feeding you, flour? But it is a legitimate thing. Like, some people actually use flour to
Like,
as an anti-caking agent.
yeah.
Which
Or a
is,
thickening
it
agent,
sounds terrible because flour tastes awful. So I can't imagine putting that in my spice.
Yeah.
And then like with the teriyaki, because it's a
Oh my
liquid, there was
gosh.
this whole different set of like federal guidelines that he had to
These are
do.
state guidelines. So
Or some-
federal is rough. USDA is not bad. Texas actually has some really friendly cottage food laws. So like, as long as you have your product tested for pH and if it's below a certain threshold, you can bottle it at home.
Yeah.
And so California, I bottled in glass. And I had a customer that wanted food service, but they didn't want glass in their kitchen. So in order to get food service bottles done in plastic, we actually had to send it back to the state for another $2,000 review to have them give it a new S number that validated the pH in plastic, like it's going to change.
Oh my God.
Isn't that complicated? I'm like, whatever. So anyhow, it's
So,
been an
needless to
amazing
say,
process.
I didn't make
Oh my
plastic
gosh.
bottles in California.
But we did do some when we moved to Texas. We did do some revision, or he did some revisions, and it's been a great learning process. So it's always getting better and better. So not only did we rebrand the look of the label, we definitely consulted with a professional media company to talk about our label and how it was a little bit confusing and how to keep it simple for the consumer and concise and our message and what our message was, and then
translate my chaotic vision into a focused attack.
Yeah, and then how that will look if and when we expand with more products, which he does already have the taco seasoning recipe in the works, and he's got a berry barbecue recipe in the work, and the chorizo blend also spice in the work. That's really fun. So
which one's out right now? Is it similar to the red can that I have?
Yeah, so it's actually almost the identical recipe. So that's now our competition blend. The Pa Bell's Buff Rub became competition blend.
But you kind of toned down the spice just a little bit,
didn't you? I took down the cayenne just a little bit because it was a little overwhelming.
It was a little touching in people's throats.
And then the West Coast seasoning is the same, but we switched from table salt to sea salt. So we just have more. It
has a nice saltier flavor, but the sodium level didn't change.
Very cool.
Crazy.
Yeah,
because the type of salt.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Didn't you also grind it a little finer? The red.
No,
you didn't make them any finer.
We still have our red and our greens that have your faces on it for Ma Bells and Pa Bells. And that's like our go-to still. My grandma is more picky and cannot handle a lot of spice, and my mom is getting that way. So we usually have to like separate if we want to use Pa Bells or Ma Bells, but that's like our favorite thing ever. I put it in like, our favorite is to put it in spaghetti and sloppy joes, which is an interesting thing to add. Yeah.
But that's what people do. That's what's so cool about it is like people send me messages all the time like, dude, I just tried this, or like our kids, eggs.
Yeah.
Like, like a hot shake instead of that. Now it's Bloody Marys. Like I've been dropping it off at bars here for people to put in their Bloody Mary so that they can spice it up without adding vinegar.
Yeah.
Because everybody puts Tabasco in, and then all you taste is like that vinegar flavor, which kills the Bloody Mary. You've already got the pickles and the olives.
That would be so good as a rimmer instead of tahini, because I'm not a big tahini fan.
I can't stand tahini.
Oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind right now. We're on fruits.
Too.
I'm getting excited just thinking about it.
Like Jerri with a Bloody Mary with a buff rub rim.
And that's what excites me is then that we kind of also changed it to a little bit more all-purpose friendly, because that's really what it is. It started out as a protein rub, but then it's really turned into an all-purpose thing. And my thing is I really want everyone to try it on everything, because people kind of get very intimidated. Like, what does it go on? I just really am just try it on anything and everything.
On a shoe.
It'll be great. Yeah.
And it did force us whenever we lived in Marina and didn't start cohabitating. We really didn't use salt and pepper at all, because that was like our go-to, and just do that. And so it definitely helped us cut down on our sodium. And then my brother and his wife that live in Tennessee, they were the ones that ordered some recently. I think it was your Pa Bells, because I think did they just order the red can? I think they just really like the spicy one. And that's what she said. She was like, I just put it in pretty much every meal I ever cook now, because that's what we love, instead of doing like salt and pepper. And we do ma bells super duper often. I think even my grandma is okay with it sometimes, like on potatoes, whenever we make any type of potato. If Chris is grilling, he puts it on almost anything that's grilling.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're bomb.
I have found I also, even when I do like frozen like French fries, I'll put the both on the French fries, you know, because I love the it's almost like when you go to Red Robin and you've got that red seasonal thing on there. I like that. And so I'll put the Pebbles on like frozen French fries.
And popcorn, that was what blew our minds, was whenever you guys would make popcorn and you'd put it on there. I was like, oh, this is different, but it's good.
The game changer, right?
Yeah. And the eggs blew our minds too. It was scrambled eggs with the Pebbles. It was bomb. We'll have to make sure that you send me the link so I put it in the description so that everyone else can do it if you have a link or a social media or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, because I want everybody to buy it. But is it, so I have like 1,000 questions about owning a business too. What is the process? Like, how do you even start that?
Yeah, so it's all relative to what you're planning on doing. Like the first thing you have to think about is like, and there's more formal processes than what I go through. Like the formal process is write a business plan and talk about who you're going to sell to, what your ideal customer is, what kind of revenue you're going to generate.
You did know about that. It was just in his head. He didn't put it on paper.
Yeah, I don't like papers. Like it's like just like my recipes. They were up there for 15 years, but they just couldn't be consistent.
But as a spouse, it's really hard to support that kind of vision when it's all in here. And like I'm like,
trust me, it'll be fine.
Yeah, easy peasy.
But the route that I went is we decided to form an LLC. And so a limited liability corporation is a way for a single member to protect yourself because we're serving food, right?
Yep.
And so my thought process is we don't have a ton of assets, but we have enough that we could lose something if we weren't careful.
Yep.
And we can't prevent people from cooking our spice on raw chicken and making themselves sick with chicken, but getting caught up in a lawsuit. Especially California was just so daunting because the liability veil is so thin.
Yep.
You could be sued by someone that looked at you wrong and be in a world.
Yep.
So we created the corporation in California. That's $800 just to have every year, whether you make money or not.
Jesus Christ.
$800 a year just to have that corporation. It literally is one page on a piece of paper. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out, and it takes a lot longer to write the check. And once you establish that, then it's a matter of and we've got several. So I've got Bell Consulting, which was an LLC. I've got Paul Bell's Rub Company, and then the gym was another one. And so then it's like some people keep receipts in cash. I'm a tech guy, so I'm like QuickBooks Online immediately. And so literally my bank account is linked up. My Venmo is linked to the bank account. My card system is linked all there. It all transacts in the system, so I can categorize my transactions. I take pictures of my receipts and upload them into the system, so I never have to carry anything with me.
But to backtrack a little bit, there's a space between if you didn't form an LLC, because you have to get your federal number.
Yeah, the EIN is super easy.
So you have to get an EIN because that helps you. That establishes you as a business in the eye of the state. And that's how you go get a business credit card, open up a business checking account.
Correct.
You have to have this specific number. That's important.
Details. Yeah.
So I have a question inside of this question. So I get anxiety about names, right? And I'm assuming before you do all this stuff, you'd have to have at least a name for your business.
Yes.
But like for me, that's like anxiety ridden because I started Jerri Berry's podcast and then I made my email Jerri Berry podcast, but now everything is Jerri B. Berry because it was easier to get that tag for like all the social medias. And now I'm like, damn it, I can't change my Gmail. My Gmail is still Jerri Berry podcast. So you talking about creating an LLC, I'm like, oh my God, what if I hate the name like 2 days after I get my LLC?
Well, you always have a DBA. So if you change anything within your business, you can still do a DBA. And all that means is that you have to buy a little piece of newspaper space that you're saying that Jerri Berry's podcast is going to be doing business as Jerri B. Berry. Now, if your name is in it, you have no responsibility to do a DBA because that's why I did Pa Bell's, because I don't have to do a DBA because my name is Bell.
Oh,
so
okay.
Better You Foods, I had to have a DBA because it didn't have our name in it. So that was a whole layer of complexity that was just a pain. But if you got your name in it, then you don't have to do the DBA because you're doing business as yourself.
We did think about it for a little bit, and he did do some research on to see, you know, are there already companies named that type thing? Like, so when we did Better You Fitness.
Better You Fitness is a perfect story about how we came up with the name. It's like, this is a health store, right? Or a gym. We're drunk in the back of a Sprinter coming back from a concert or going to a concert. And my buddy Bill was like literally looking for things. And I was like, I'm thinking Better You, something like, like this. And he's like, well, Better You Health, Better You this. And he's all betteryou.fit. Boom. So we finally found like the website, and then the website drove to the name.
Well, that's not true, because I remember that at some point early on, he had a huge vision of what he wanted the business to be.
For sure.
And it was like a university. He really wanted to have different types of aspects or campuses.
The Better You play on was
the U was from a university.
Came from.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the idea that it was Better University. It was Better You as the person. Better You as the people that you're around.
There would be different types of classes. Yeah, we were going to do a whole like university type thing of all the different things that the fitness could incorporate.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then it's Buff whenever you shorten it, which is hilarious.
Exactly, Buff, which was kind of funny too. But the idea, our whole concept, even with the rub company, is like we stuck with the low sodium, the no measurable sugar, no fillers, no nitrates like that, because I feel like people can eat really well and not have to put garbage into their body. And that was something that has kind of been at the core of my belief system in terms of just, if I can substitute Buff, the competition blend for salt and pepper, and I can take someone that's hypertensive and get them out of that state without medication, that's greatly satisfying, because you've changed someone's life and all you did was just change something in their cupboard.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool stuff.
Or give some excitement to eating when people have dietary restrictions. Our relationship with food, especially with Hudson being a diabetic, the spontaneity for him is taken out. So, and with other people's dietary restrictions, it feels so, food is not fun anymore. And if you can make it fun, that's exciting.
Yeah, we had a guy yesterday. He was a really sweet dude. He just came up and he tasted it and he's like, "Oh, this is good." And then he like looks at the bottle. He's all, "Man, there's hardly any salt in that." And I was like, "No, it's really low sodium." And he was a bigger guy. Like clearly, like he probably shouldn't have been having salt. But really, really nice dude. And he's like, "I'm gonna be back." Sure enough, he comes back later, and then he just talks about this trip he's taken and how this is like made him so excited because he's going to this
shrimp thing in Mississippi.
He's gonna buy the shrimp off the boat. He's all, "I can't wait to try this because now I get to do this and I don't have to feel guilty about eating sugar and salt and everything else. I gotta throw this on here." He's all, "This is good stuff." And he's like, "I'm gonna shout you out on Facebook and we're gonna talk all about it because this is game changer." Like, it's really exciting.
So cute.
It's sweet.
That stuff gets me jazzed. Like we could not make money and be totally fine, like with just being able to have those conversations with people.
Yeah, doing the pop-ups is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's like we consider it like our date day when we go out there and we just shoot the shit with people, and it's fun.
Yeah, we had the barbecue guy come across the street and he took a couple jars and he was offering to pay. I was like, "No." I said, "Just try it out. I don't, if you like it." And he's like, "Well, I got 20
But he fed us lunch.
And so he comes back and he's like, "Well, lunch is on me." So we had, a delicious pulled pork sandwich.
Fun.
Just the sense of community that you get in doing that stuff. I know at some point this is going to grow to the place where we're in stores. We've got HEB looking at us for getting into their stores, which is pretty big. And, we have to do that to grow the company. But it's something that I think people that I've surrounded myself with that have been very successful in business, like, don't lose who you are. Make sure that you stay close to your roots and that you stay humble, because it's really important. Like your brand has to mean something.
It did start out as a side hustle, but he does still have a passion for it, and we haven't lost the vision. And sometimes I think for me, like, the vision can be hard to stay a hold of because I'm like a squirrel and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Let's do this. Let's do that." And he's like, he can, in that regard, he can stay focused, but he has this philosophy too. And it hit me when you talked about what to even name a business, like just to even start.
Oh my God, it gives me such anxiety.
He calls it analysis paralysis. And so he's really good about making a decision and being super quick. And I want to research everything. I want to think about it. I want to chew on it. I want to talk about it. I want to just, you know, he calls it analysis paralysis because
It's called the high C in the DISC profile. Like when you study someone's personality test, there's a D, an I, an S, and a C, right? The
Yeah.
D is your I is your outgoing, S is stability, C is your analytical. So my D and I are like off the charts high. My S is like a 1%. And then my C is relatively high, but not so high that it creates that paralysis. And April's C is way higher than mine. But it's a good balance because she's the one that's like, okay, well, that's cool, but are we really going to drop that kind of money on this without knowing blank? And so it makes me think about it. But then I still make a decision like,
well, I think the most recent one is there's been a couple though that he's kind of, when we bought our new cars recently, he did a lot of research on that one for my benefit. And then like when he has this great idea about building something, I'll ask him to draw it out and he's gotten better about doing it so I can visualize it and be on board. And then the other one was he did have another business model recently. And I'm like, have you researched like how many other things there were? I remember he kind of got pissed because when he Googled it, there was some, he can make it better and he's still going to do it. But he hadn't researched it at all. And he thought he was like the first one to ever invent this. And
That's funny.
Like I kind of burst his bubble a little bit on that one. But we're still going to do it. We'll just definitely make it our own.
That's cute.
Let's put it this way. I'm learning how to code apps right now. So that's my new hobby.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff.
We do have a couple more. I really want to take that. My space.
Cool. We had some technical difficulties. But I think the last thing I heard before you guys froze was you were starting to code apps. And I think that's amazing because a lot of people outsource that. So are you learning? Have you ever coded ever in your life?
I coded early on, like back in the Apple IIgs era. I used to do a lot of basic programming. Yeah. But I've never done like Turbo C or Pascal or any of those. I kind of dabbled with them, but decided there was too much math involved and gave up.
You created a video game back in the the DOS?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, back in the DOS days, we had a video game out. It was horrible. It was kind of like the Oregon Trail, but awful.
So I realized recently at my job, I applied and I catered my resume to the job, and they had stated, because I got it through my professor at CSUMB. And so she had already told me like they don't do coding, they don't know coding, they just do Excel. But they said that they might be interested in coding later on if they know you're going to be here for a while. But basically they can't just hire a rando and then switch everything to code and then have to whatever. So I think I took all of that off my resume because they clearly didn't want it or need it. And then we were just in a meeting the other day and she was talking about asking someone to code a program that we use on the iPads to track a lot of stuff. And I was like, what, like, I didn't realize that you outsourced that. What is going on back there? Like, what do they use to code? And she was like, I don't know. Do you code? And I was like, yeah, I'm a stats major. Like, you have to take coding.
Right. That's the epitome of what coding is.
Yeah. I didn't say it like that because that's an asshole move to my boss. But in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, they don't know that I code. So it's very interesting. They were like, oh, I had no idea. But anyways, so what language are you learning right now? Or we're trying to work
Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm setting the frame with the app with no code building. So I'm using Codica right now just to build the framework. Okay. And in the meantime, I'm trying to learn about it because all the scripts are just like, it's like a foreign language to me. So like trying to figure that out. And then we're going to decide whether or not we want to invest in someone to code, hint, hint, wink, wink, or if we want to, learn it and do it. And I'm leaning towards outsourcing it because it is complex and I don't have a lot of white space in my brain. I, between working full time and having two side businesses, plus this would be a third. Yeah, it's just a bit much to realistically expect that I could get it done. But what I'm doing now is designing the apps and the pages and how it's going to work. Yeah, it's like all front end stuff, right? So it's the brainchild of Monty's someone that Monty is training with. It was his idea, and so we're just kind of running with it. And I'm excited about it. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the details of it because it is a lot of intellectual property. But even though other people have done it, what we're doing is so unique that it's pretty exciting. It's true.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about it whenever it starts to happen.
Oh yeah, you will. It'll be soon. You can help us. Yeah, and if you can code, it'll be sooner than you think.
I don't think I've ever coded an app before, but I'm sure I could Google stuff. Yeah, I feel like once you learn a language, you can learn any language. It's just like not coding, just like real world. You can
It's a lot of if thens, right? I mean, you're just inserting scripts and you're creating logic.
Yeah.
And you know,
and once
the computers have evolved so far that you don't have to tell them to do things. Like it will do most of the things by command.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling like my bosses the other day too, because she was saying like I learned basic, and then the other person was like, oh, I remember taking like a C++ class. And so they were asking what's the difference with this, that, and the other, whatever words you said, I don't even know yet. But that's the thing, is it just keeps getting more and more user friendly, where you have to stop thinking so much like a computer and more just like dragging and dropping. Even like Jared's in 2nd grade and they're already starting to teach them coding by breaking down the logic of a computer and dragging and dropping commands into like little slots. And I think that's so cool, where they had to build Lego things, and then they had to plug, and then Lego has a whole I don't know what you would call it, like a whole section of that for schools, where they give them all the supplies for free, and the computers and the programming and stuff. And so they built like little windmills and little bulldozers, and they have to think about how to logically tell it to like make the bulldozer go first, and then you want the windmill to come on, and then you want the windmill to go off, and then you want the bulldozer to go off. It's little stuff like that, and it was so cool whenever he did the presentation, where they had to think of like the order, because I think that's the hardest part. I think my first coding class basically was a lot of not coding and a lot of learning and writing on paper step by step how you would do stuff.
Right, it's process based.
Yeah, we take for granted that our brain does a lot for us in the background that computers don't have.
Yep.
So it was like, I remember one of my first assignments was,
that he's learning in 2nd grade.
Yeah, that's what I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's like cursive is not a thing anymore, but like coding and typing is like full force, which is it's super weird to think about that's where the future is. But yeah, so I don't want to take up like forever and ever though, in case internet goes out again, but I feel like I just have a million questions. So I want to talk about the food in Texas, because I talk a lot about food in Tennessee. Do you have like a favorite food in Texas? Because I think we've already covered that like Tex-Mex is not it whenever you're from California.
I feel like I have a lot of not favorite foods in Texas because I'm not a super huge barbecue person. And the Tex-Mex is not for me either, but I have discovered a drink called the Paloma here, which I love, love, love. And when I went to Vegas, nobody knew how to make it, so I think it might be Texas. And I love queso here. Like, I was born to eat queso, and which is just hot melted cheese. Chips in, which is amazeballs. But we can't find a good salsa at the store.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like, I love barbecue, so I'm in heaven. In fact, the first 2 weeks that we were here, I think I literally almost killed myself.
Meat sweats every day.
I would literally go to a different barbecue place every day and just gorge on brisket and pulled pork and, you know, Texas Twinkies, which
that's my favorite. The Texas Twinkies.
What is a Texas Twinkie?
It is brisket mixed with cheese and cream cheese, stuffed inside a jalapeno, wrapped in bacon and glazed with barbecue sauce, and then smoked for 2.5 hours.
Oh my God. So many layers.
It's like the best jalapeno pepper on crack.
Like, if you could picture your artery closing.
No, it's better than that.
That's pretty much what it's like. But the like, brisket is the hardest piece of meat that I've ever had to cook, and I'm still trying to get it. But these guys can throw down. They have to cook these things for 12 to 16 hours, then rest them for 4 hours, and so it's legit. Like, it's a science and an art at the same time, and so I'm really enjoying that. She loves queso. I've learned how to make queso. I hate Velveeta. Yeah. So I will not compromise. So I make a roux and I make a cheese sauce, and I'll use my old leftover meat and peppers and stuff and do that. But there is a lot of good food here, but not a lot of food that's unique to Texas. I think people have a misnomer about Texas being kind of like this podunk redneck state, and it's been absolutely the opposite of that for us.
All the food chains you could possibly imagine are here everywhere. Yeah.
What kind of coffee is there as far as like coffee places to go? Is it a lot of like small owned? Is it like Dunkin' Donuts?
Dunkin' Donuts is here, Starbucks is here.
Okay.
Pizza's not. I mean, pizza's available, but not very prominent.
Bros is here.
Dutch Bros is here. Black
Oh,
Rifle
okay, that's
is
a big
big
one.
here. Black Rifle is actually founded here, so.
We have found some small coffee places
Sweetwater
that
is a
we like.
nice place. There's a lot of little artisan coffee makers that like roast their own beans and stuff that are really good.
We're not a fan of Texas wines yet. Sorry, Texas.
Mm-mm.
I think that maybe
We're spoiled.
Yeah,
In
we
fact,
just
our friends were saying that they don't even take out their California wines when they're, or their Texas wines when they're entertaining California friends.
Oh my gosh.
It's the weather, it's no offense to them, but of course
Yeah.
it's weather.
Yeah.
So
I'm
You can't-
slowly becoming
yeah.
a wine snob, but not crazy yet because I still cannot afford to be a true wine snob.
Yeah.
But Chris plays all these gigs. He has a gig today at Shide, which is like where we live. So
And they got good wine. Yep.
yeah, they're really good. And so now I'm becoming like a wine
Mhm.
snob where Chris bought me like an electric wine opener and I don't even like white wine anymore. I just want red wine.
Oh, there
And
you
I'm
go.
trying and I'm
like that. Now
I
I'm going
keep
back.
and I keep like trying new ones. I try not to buy the same
Mhm.
label every time I go.
Yeah.
But I always end up
Fun.
getting, I mean, I live in California, so I always buy California wines. I don't think I've really tried any that aren't from here. And then
Now,
my
I'm huge on Argentinian and Spanish wine. So when I
Oh.
don't buy Texas wine, but if we go to the grocery store, even in California, those were my favorites. There are a lot less sulfates and a lot less sugars.
yeah.
And so you get less
Oh.
hangover, headachy.
I think isn't a Grenache a Spanish wine? I think I had a
Yes,
Grenache and that was really
And
good.
Chianti. is
Grenache
Spanish.
Rosé is probably my favorite single glass of wine right now.
But yes,
And
I have
Um,
noticed
I
that since I've been buying like better wine, price point wise, I'm talking like $15 to $22 wine. So
Yep.
it's still not very bougie. My mom has seen plenty of people buy over $30. But I've noticed that with those red wines and those nicer ones, whenever I'm picking them, I get like no hangover. I can drink like 3 glasses or 4 glasses and still not have a hangover the next day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We also do the New Zealand. He likes the,
Marlborough
like,
region of Sauv Blanc is my like go-to guaranteed good white wine that's a nice summer
I'm
sipper.
not a Chardonnay person because I just don't like that buttery.
She doesn't like the oak.
the oak,
I
but I'll
do.
it.
Chardonnay is one of the few white wines I like.
I don't. Yeah, but I'll do an unoaked Chardonnay and like that a lot. But I tend to like the New Zealand.
Yeah.
You know what my mom told me recently, because my mom works for Monterey County, and she markets tourism, like come to Monterey.
Cool.
That's her job. And she's done that since that's why she moved here, was for that job. She did that up in Washington. But she told us recently that Monterey actually, as a county, produces way more wine than Napa, but Napa is just better marketed. And I had no idea that was a thing. But
he knows that because
I'm from a wine family, so
his uncle's a viticulturist, and there's the winery.
So there were
what is a viticulturist?
It's so basically a person that grows and creates wine.
Okay, so like would that be like horticulture, but for grapes?
But for vines. Yeah.
Okay.
For vines.
Vines. Okay. Cool.
And so my uncle Phil is considered one of the godfathers of the vine. So Gary Pizzoni, Steve Pisano, my uncle Phil, and I think there was one other guy. Pisano. They're the original 4 people that made Pinot Noir and put it on the map as winemakers.
Wow.
So
I thought Pinot was a Spanish wine.
Pinot is actually a French wine in Burgundy.
Okay.
And it came to California because Gary Pizzoni shoved a bunch of grape stems in his pants and took them home to California. Because,
oh my God.
that's what Swiss do, is like we take the cheapest fat. And he basically stole them. He got sued, the whole thing. Like there's this whole thing on he has a TV special on Drinking Made Easy that he talks about. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so that's where the first grapes are, which is just outside of Greenfield, where you're at.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of if I've had Pisano.
Pisano you've probably had.
I know Chris plays at
They
Puma
are now
a lot.
owned by Ray Francione. So Ray Francione owns Pisano now.
Okay.
And so they're the same, basically the same kind of grapes and grape fields. Now Pizzoni is more towards the foothills, like where Paraiso Springs is.
Okay.
And so that's where his original grapes are. And him and Pisano partnered. So they ended up having like 4 Boys Vineyard and a couple others that have hybrids of those original Pinot Noir grapes. But that, to me, those are by far the best wines that I've ever tasted.
What was they? Pisano, and what was the other one?
Pizzoni, Pisoni. And Pizzoni only makes one Pinot in his name. He has like partners that bottle his grapes. But they're fantastic.
Talbot was one of my favorites that's grown there.
Yeah, Gallo bought Talbot, but
But they're still
hopefully they're
growing
keeping it estate-like.
Yeah.
I'll have to try Talbot. You know, Chris plays at Chris and Melissa would play at Puma Road a lot. And I've drank their wine, but it's not really my favorite. No offense to Puma. But I was told that they do it different. There's something different about the way they do things that makes it stand out. So people either love it or hate it. And I can't remember what that is.
I would imagine they probably blend Syrah into it because they're pretty dark compared like a traditional Pinot is very clear.
Yeah.
And so Ray's wines tend to be a little bit more dark and bold. So he's probably just fermenting them a little differently, or, you know, it's hard to say.
And I don't know what it is about Scheid, but what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna tell that fun fact about when we were in Lodi and we went wine tasting in Lodi, and their red wines, we went to go smell it, and they smelled like gasoline or like a pure fresh cut bell pepper, just bam, right at my nose. And it was gross, and I did not want to drink it at all. But when we drank it, they were so delicious, and it's had something to do with the heat.
Well, it's so hot in the valley that the alcohol actually starts to dissolve and it evaporates. And so when you smell a wine in Monterey, you're like, oh, that smells like notes of cherry and, you know, this and that. In Lodi, it smells like you're ingesting ethanol because all you're getting is the fumes that are
vaporizing off.
Yeah.
So I would assume breathing is really important in those areas, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We just did an aerated versus non-aerated experiment last night because Chris bought me a fancy electric opener set, and it comes with the little thing that cuts the foil, and it's a button that opens it. It has a really cool vacuum seal stopper, so you can like pump it and it'll vacuum seal it. And then I was like, I think this is an aerator, but I don't know how to use it, right? And it's the kind that you stick on the end of the bottle and then pour to aerate instead of like a pour over. Nice. And so I was like, I think it's a bunch of bullshit, guys. It's whatever. So then we did it. We like tested it with I had a bottle of Josh wine that it's probably a Cabernet because that's what I buy a lot.
Yep.
And
what they do, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, and I just love the Josh label. That's why I buy it a lot. It's just literally just cursive Josh. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, and I thought I could tell. I don't think I could smell it, but the taste was definitely different, and I still don't understand the science behind it.
It's so much smoother. I feel like an aerated.
Yeah.
I think that the aeration brings oxygen into it. So you have a lot of sulfites in wine. And so when you oxygenate anything, it creates like a freshness, and it kind of separates the molecules and kind of breaks them up so that you're getting the pure flavor instead of like this liquid that's sat by, you know, for
that's what I was saying. It tasted lighter almost. Like the non-aerated was like heavy on the palate. Yeah.
The tannins are stronger. They're not broken up. Yep.
Again, I'm just becoming like more and more an old lady Californian woman where I'm just going to start drinking wine.
You're maturing. It has nothing to do with being old. You're just
remember, you got to have the pinky out. Pinky's up. Pinky's out. Grab by the stem so you don't heat up the glass.
Yeah.
This is how, you know, the 30-year-olds behave.
I don't have fancy glasses though. That's the one thing I'm missing is like fancy glass. I literally drink my wine out of mason jars half the time.
It tastes way different.
Awesome. Yeah, it actually does make a difference.
It does taste different.
Bourbon and wine.
Plastic. It tastes gross, but also fun fact if you didn't know, drinking from a stemmed glass, I don't like to drink from the glasses that have no stems, such as maybe a mason jar, because especially with the whites, if you choose white,
it would get hotter.
Your hand, warms up faster. So I really do like the stemmed glasses.
But I heard from some people that they'll hold a red wine glass so that it stays hot. Is that true? Is that bullshit? I never know.
They're supposed to be cool. I mean, a red wine should be about 60 to 65 degrees. It shouldn't be refrigerated. Yeah, and like a dessert wine, maybe you might warm up a little bit more, but I would not want to drink a warm red wine. It's just that, trust me, we did it in Lodi, and
mine are always just off the counter, which means in Greenfield that it's probably like over 70 degrees every time I drink them. And my mom is, now that she knows that I really am enjoying wine and I'm really enjoying getting into wine, and Chris bought me the thing and all this stuff. So now my mom wants to look into a wine fridge because we ordered a whole appliance kit through Samsung. And we're still waiting for it to get delivered because that's how the world works now.
Hashtag COVID.
Yeah, but so now she wants to get a wine fridge, and I was like, no, I only drink red wine, and she was like, red wine goes in a fridge, Jerry. It's just not a 40-degree fridge in our house.
You will be amazed at the difference that 20 degrees makes on a red wine.
Yeah, so now I'm getting very excited about all of it, and I did not know that they were so affordable. Like, I think I saw online that a wine fridge is like $100 or like 150.
Yeah,
150 bucks.
Yeah, for an 18 to 20 bottles is 150, 200 bucks tops.
Yeah. I'm getting very excited. I
We
don't know how
we
we
don't
got
have
on a
one
wine
because
topic.
we would fill it and empty it frequently.
Well, you saw our, but we made that little wine cellar in our house, that little wine room.
It was an entire cupboard.
Didn't we showed you
I
that?
don't remember. I remember you having a wine stand in like your foyer area.
Closet.
Where was that?
Oh yeah, that was part of it. So we built in the closet to the left of the washroom. We actually had, it was like,
on the way into
I think it was 12 bottles wide by 12 bottles high.
Oh,
and
I
we
do
had
remember
7
that
cases
now.
around it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there were
And that was the
cases,
coolest room in the
like,
house. So
there
that's where we kept it.
Which I wish we could have given you some, because we did give a lot away.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was just getting it. I remember the last time I came to see you guys in Modesto, and I was barely getting into it. And I think I even was buying more whites still at that point. Because that's whenever Monty was like, "You're drinking more wine?" I was like, "Don't judge me, Monty. I'm on vacation."
This kid. Yeah. Now he's doing this with a bag full of Jolly gummy worms and a Coke chaser.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys are having wine? I'm like, oh yeah, you want to lecture me on nutrition, huh, kid?
He's so judgy. He judges us too. But we stepped away from wine when we were in Modesto. I personally stepped away from wine. I don't know why I lost my palate, and we had that whole thing of wine in our wine room, and it, to me, it stayed unless we had company. We didn't drink it. No. But now here in Texas, we're back into wines. Even though we're not drinking Texas wines, we do drink more wine than
which is a
else.
bummer, because I think we gave away like $5,000 in wine.
We did give away hundreds of bottles of wine.
Yeah, well, it would have been a bitch to move them, honestly, to worry about them not breaking or anything.
We weren't allowed to move alcohol without like special permits and stuff, so we're like,
really?
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Weird.
You can't move gas, you can't move oil, you can't move alcohol. Like, there's all kinds of rules about what you can move in a moving
truck. Because my sister's flown with alcohol before in her checked bag, unopened.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we were completely dry for over a year and a half.
I remember that.
Dry.
Yeah.
Solid year. It was over a year. I was
counting. Okay.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah. I did a whole sober thing I did a non-alcohol sober thing for a long time. And I think that's after that was
that's
whenever
called pregnancy.
Oh, so no, not including, because I was like sober for pregnant. I didn't do any cannabis or alcohol while pregnant. But it was, I believe, like, I don't even remember if it was I think it was before I was pregnant with Haley. I decided to go no alcohol for a long time, because it's a problem for me. I do everything in excess, so then it just becomes a really bad thing. And then recently, the most recent one, Rick came over and we technically recorded a podcast, and it was never posted because the amount of alcohol Rick can drink is unfathomable. I've never tried to keep up with him before. But we were sitting here talking, and we had changed to this a little bit to fit both of us, and we were recording it. And then Chris and Mikey sat off camera, and Rick just kept pouring shots while we were talking. And then I blacked out in an hour. Like, I don't remember. And then the next morning we watched the recording, and it was just watching Jerri go downhill as fast as possible.
Amazing.
And we counted, and we did like 7 shots in an hour. And I was like,
my gosh.
And Rick just walked out like he was sober. He could have driven home to San Francisco. Like,
he almost died.
I'm over the shots. We've got younger friends that still have their shot livers, and my shot liver is dead. I literally have mastered a technique where I will literally like hold it up to my mouth and then dump it in a planner.
You can fake anybody out for doing shots.
Because I can tip my hand without tipping the cup and just dump it in the plant.
Yeah.
Or like over his shoulder.
And they're like, what happened to my plants? They're all dead. I'm like, I should have done shots.
I personally love shots. Shots don't love me, but I think I'm 21 when it comes to shots. I'm like, let's go. So he's like, hell no.
That night with Rick was like January. Oh, my baby's awake. That's what that was. That night was like January 9th or something with Rick. It was like the weekend after New Year's, because I drank a lot for New Year's, and then the very next weekend that happened with Rick. And then I was stone cold sober, no alcohol, until we went to Vegas for my birthday. And then after
Oh,
we got
wow.
back from my birthday weekend, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do wines because liquors are too much and I don't know when to stop. And I get too
Yep.
messed up and the hangovers are too bad. I'm an adult now. So now I just do the wine. But yeah.
There you go.
Very mature.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah.
That-
I will
that's-
what?
I think Ma Bell needs to just use the
Somebody-
restroom.
yeah, I was just gonna say my baby just woke up and I have to go see Chris's gig, but I'm so glad that you guys did the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties halfway through. And then is there anything else you want to tell the people before we leave?
If you write down way more questions, then we want to do it again. I want to do it again. It'll be fun. I'd love to
Okay, cool.
talk about your, even if it's just the two of us, I'd love to do the book review thing. I'm so excited about
Oh,
your
yes.
movie review. So I'd even love to be able to figure out how to actually like ask you questions because the last one I watched, I had so many questions for you after I was done watching it. I'm like, oh, but did you notice this and this and this? So I'm
Okay.
ready to do it again.
We'll have to do a Ma Bell 2.0 where we just talk about books because I could talk about books all day long.
Okay.
There we go. No, nothing to add. I mean, we're
Okay,
just
cool.
we're happy to conversate with you, and
That's
that was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, and then send me I'll send you a Google form. You'll fill it out and send, and then
Yep.
you'll put your link in there, and it'll be in the description. They'll find it. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye.